Shalom. We will talk today about the second and very important part of the soul. Meaning, what we talked until now, we talked about two general parts of the body of the soul. I'm calling it the body, and now you will understand why today. So there is how the soul is built, divided as I said in general to two parts: intellect and emotions. Okay? In the godly soul, the intellect is the father and mother of emotions, meaning when there is no intellect, there is no emotions. To have emotion of love to God, for example, if we're talking about the holy soul, you will need to have chokhmah, meaning the idea, like the lightning, and from the idea will come the binah, the understanding, and then you will have emotion born. Now, as we said, in order that this emotion will be true emotion that will stay, will not be illusion, you must have the da'at, that this is the third level, that how it's connected to me. Yes? And then this is the general, it's called intellect in Hebrew, or Hebrew, old Hebrew. It's called mochin in the Kabbalah language, mochin, meaning brains. And then we have emotions, that this is in Hebrew midot. Midot are, how we will translate midot?
Emotions, no?
Emotions?
I mean, that's how they...
This is the meaning, but the translation maybe is different.
I think a literal translation would be like levels, maybe? No? Midah?
It depends. There is few meanings of the words midot. Meaning a good personality will be midot ovot. Okay, but whatever. So those are in general divided to two lines: the right line, the positive, and the negative, or I will call it negative. It's not accurate again. We call it chesed, love, and fear.
Parallel, maybe?
Maybe.
Perpendicular. Perpendicular, but not.
So we have love and compassion, and then fear and respect. This is like the general, when we're dividing it to general chesed and gvura, and then all the rest, 6 midot are the levels coming after. As I said earlier, and I will say it again, it's very important before we go into the next step. I will show it also in the camera, and I will show it to you. So if we have intellect, emotion, 3 levels of intellect, 7 levels of emotion, okay? Now, we saw there is many kinds of maps to see, yes, how it's divided. So there is the map that is divided to 3, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. You remember I said also picture. Mm-hmm. Now, the typical way basically to see it, it's also like this, as a list. What makes the intellect upper than the emotions? And what makes the chokhmah above binah? Okay? So what does that mean up? So if we're talking about the natural soul, nefesh haba'amit, natural soul, it's how much upper you go is more higher. What is higher? More connected to the core, more connected to the thing itself. For example, if we're talking about what's more connected to me, myself, my speaking or my thinking? Of course, thinking. What's connected to me, myself more? What I'm feeling, or what I understand? This is much more serious question. But I will go straight to the point because we don't have much time. Basically, in general, it's true that the character of yours is built more from what you're feeling. But what is more connected to your core is what you're understanding. Because in general, this is the simplest reason why, the emotions are guided by your understanding. If you would see something, so your emotion, it's a reaction to what you see. And the reaction would be according to what you understand. So what is more connected to you? The brain. More connected to what me, myself. The understanding. Emotions is only a reaction to the level of our understanding in both souls. Yes? As a kid, he see candy, his reaction, positive reaction, because he understand that this is good. This is tasty. So, the understanding is more connected to him himself. Okay? So, Chokhmah, it's above Bina. Why? Because Chokhmah, it's less understanding than Bina. But it's more connected to the thing itself. As we said the example, you're sitting in a room and there is lightning. And only in the lightning you saw the room. Before the lightning and after the lightning was dark. So when you saw the room in the lightning, but then you sit down and said to yourself, okay, I saw this and this and this. It means this room is kind of an office. And there is the room, there is one door here and one window there. It means that I can escape from there. Yes? So this is understanding, true. But the understanding is less connected to to the thing itself than the power of seeing the thing itself. Because when you saw it, in the moment that you saw, you really saw it. Okay? So, if we talk about the soul with God, so the connection that our godly soul have with God can be with love, can be with fear, that were born from understanding. But so there is more souls that connected with God mostly by love. There is souls that connected to God mostly by fear and respect. There is souls that connected with God mostly in understanding. It means that their connection is bigger in a way. Because you see God more when you understand Him than you feel Him. You feel He's connected to an outside level of Him. I will finish in that. And there is the level of understanding that it's called Chokhmah, that it's not only that I understand. I saw it. I saw it. For example, let's say you are a caveman and someone trying to explain to you what is airplane. Okay? And you can see it hours and hours and explain how it works and imagine 300 people sitting in this box flying and you can hear it and you can eventually you will understand it. Okay? But if you saw it, it will be much more real to you than the understanding. Even without understanding. Let's say you didn't understand. Everybody, all of us, not very understanding this whole system of plane. Just an example. But be flying all the time. You will never explain to me that planes are not real. Okay? But if I understood planes and never saw, you can convince me that it's not real. Why? Because I saw it or I understood it. It's two total different things. Chokhmah is much more connected to seeing than to understanding. Okay, so we're talking about how strong is the confirmation that I have, the truth that I have about the other thing. So we have emotions and we have intellect. What do you want to ask?
From this, we can understand that Kabbalah Torah on Mount Sinai was probably like the
Seeing.
The highest point of seeing, right?
Yes.
Everyone there was on the level of Chokhmah, right?
You can call it like that. That's why in the receiving of the Torah was all different in levels. Because in understanding, there is someone that understands more, someone understands less. By seeing, there's no difference. That's why even the Torah said that all the nations saw the voices. And our sages say they saw what usually you hear, and they heard what usually you see. What does that mean? It means that our world, we're living in a world that the truth of this world is clear to us as day. But God, we can hear about Him, understand Him. But it's something else. It's not seeing, it's understanding. In Mount Sinai, the Jewish people were in a level of opposite. They saw the voices. They saw what usually you only can hear and have explanations about. And they heard what they usually see. Meaning, yes, there is also a world. Yes, God created the world. It's true. Okay? So, this is not our topic today, but it's very important to understand that upper you go, more connected to you yourself you are. Also in the natural soul. As Daniel said, usually when people are not doing the right thing, it's because they not understand exactly what they want. Okay? They are less connected to them themselves. In the godly soul, it's not connected to you, your personal you. As upper you go, you're more connected to who? To God. Because the core of the godly soul, it's God Himself. So when you have emotions to God, it's good connection. Like husband and wife, they have emotions towards each other. But intellect, it's deeper connection. You understand his type of his state of mind. Okay? Now I wrote here one level that is above it, but we will not go into that. There is levels that they are above intellect. They can guide your rhythm, your intellect, and the will. The will is the ratzon, as we call it. It's guiding our emotions and our intellect. But we will not go into that. Now we will go. Okay, you have another question?
Yeah, so you talked about husband and wife. So the connection through intellect is stronger, and it can be interpreted like as mutual respect, for example, understanding of each other.
This is already emotions.
Oh, this is emotions.
Respect is emotion.
Uh-huh. So how does the intellect part come?
Why they respect each other? Because they understand the importance of the other, the advantage, what this person, what his ma'alot, his qualities, his why. So therefore, it created emotion called love and respect. Okay.
So could they in a simple way be described as sort of forces or?
Forces is a good word.
I see. So it's not that you can't feel emotions without connecting something to yourself. It's more that sort of if something is connected to you by that, for example.
Yes.
Then you think about it.
All the time?
Yes, like for example.
You're right. You basically. Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
You can, for example, do something because it's connected to yourself, but without actually feeling anything about it, like any emotion. Like, for example, drinking some water, because sometimes, like for example, I don't feel hunger and yet I eat because I know that I haven't eaten in like 2 hours. So, I mean, not 2 hours, but
4 hours, 6
yes,
hours.
Yes. Because if you drink a lot.
You basically saying very good point. So there is many actions that we do without emotions. So where are they?
Maybe it's something subconscious already.
So it's a good question. I mean, it's not a question, but it's a good point to say. I'm not sure that it's the time. That's why I'm like. But as you said, right, that we can call it that. I think you meant it. That they are not part of the emotion because it's forces. It's force of positivity and force of negativity. So I'm in for eating. It's because I love eating. There is food that I love. There is food that I eat because it's important. I mean, I'm drinking water not because I love drinking water. I don't feel the emotion of love. I just do it. So this will be the explanation for now. Okay? There is other. We can go in a bit deeper to this day-to-day life action that are not. It doesn't seem that they connected to emotion, but for now we will say, as you said, right? They are forces. Basically, it's called in Hebrew eser kochot, 10 forces. So the force of positivity, it's a force, and in this force includes many things that I do without emotions, without clear, revealed emotion. Maybe there is emotion of in hidden where somewhere a small emotion, okay? Instincts, or okay. We will learn a bit about the second part, and maybe it will be more understandable. Those all 10 levels of intellect and emotions are connected to the kochot, to the forces of the soul. The godly and natural soul is built from 10 forces. This is the body of the soul. Now, as I started to say also yesterday, to Michael, I think, that sometimes when a person do something, it affects what he feeling inside. For example, you wake up in the morning and you put your best clothes that you have. It affects your mood. Okay? So this is a hint to something different that affects us, our soul. Of course, it's not the real thing, but it's a hint. Now, so our soul, the body of the soul is, as I said, now the soul have levushim. Levushim are clothings. What are clothings? Clothings are the way that you want to present yourself to outside. Okay? If I'm going to work as a police officer, I'll have the clothing of police officer. If I'm going now to the synagogue, I will have a different clothing. If I'm going to have sports, I have different clothing. If I in my home not doing anything, I have a different clothing. Or even less clothing also. So what are clothing? Clothings are the way that I adjusting the body to the situation, and they are ways of communication. They are ways of communication, and the main difference between the clothing, levushim, and the kochot, the forces, the body, is the body I cannot change. The soul, the levushim, I can change. I can replace. And even I cannot wear them at all. Not all of them, but two of them. Let's explain. The levushim are machshava, dibur, and maaseh. Machshava, it's thinking. Dibur, it's speaking. Maaseh is doing. Those are the ways that our soul reacting, revealing itself. Thinking, it's the language of the soul to me. The speaking, usually it's coming from thinking. There is people that the speaking is before the thinking. But usually, I speaking what I thought, but this is already to others. And I can take a hold, not speak. I have full control on it. And doing also. Now, in this you can see clearly that the thinking is up, it's higher than speaking, and speaking is higher than doing. In order to me speak and you will hear, I need to be here. Yes? To do, I can do something and go, and it will still stay. So it's much less connected to me, myself. Okay? Now, to think something, it's a language to me and myself. Why thinking I cannot stop. I can replace, but I cannot stop. Meaning I have full control of what I'm thinking, not if I'm thinking, because the thinking garment, the yes, I would say garment, it's so close, fits to the size of the body of the soul, that because of the soul itself always alive, so thinking is also always alive. This is the language of the soul speaking. The soul not stop of being alive. Okay? So the thinking always works. For example, every person have house and have clothing. The clothing are fit to his size, meaning they are much closer to the body itself. House can be me, can be you. It doesn't mean it's not a different who is living there. It's also garment. It's also something that covers us, keeping us. We have some connection to it, but it's not necessarily to us. Others can also join, or I can replace mine. So there is clothing that much more closer to me myself, and there is less. And the thinking, it's the very, very close to the soul itself. That's why it's not stopping, but I can control it, not by stopping it, by replacing it. Alter Rebbe said once, if you have a bad thinking, bad thought that you want to get rid of, so you cannot stop it. You cannot stop it. This would be the bad way to do it. You start thinking about something else. Yes? Okay. Now, as I said, the main difference is I cannot control how do I look. I mean, what is the body of me? Not in our life you can control. But the body is the body that you got from heaven. The soul is the soul that you got. But the levushim, the clothing of the soul, this you have full control of. And this is the fight. Do I use the levushim of the animal soul? That this is thinking about nonsense, speaking nonsense, and doing nonsense. I'm saying nonsense, but yeah. Or I'm using the godly soul levushim. The levushim of the godly soul, thinking about holiness, learning Torah or praying, or doing mitzvot. This is the war. The war is not between the souls who is winning, one soul against the other. They cannot win each other. They can win only about when we talk about the levushim. What levush the body will use, what garments the body will put on, the thought of goodness or the thought of the natural and bad side. So it's like two nations fighting on a town. The town is the third thing, so there is three things here. Is the holiness conquering the town, or the bad is living there but under occupation? No one is going away from the town. But who is executing his powers? Okay?
But who's the one who decides?
Exactly. Very good question. Who the one is decide? The town decide in our analogy. The town itself. Meaning, you're asking a very good question. So if we have the tzaddik, the righteous person, who is I for him? I is the godly soul. Why? Because this is the active soul in him. This is what he feels. He woke up in the morning. He felt holiness. He felt love for God. All the emotions were active, felt by the body, and all the intellect of thinking about God worked. And therefore, also the levushim, the clothing, were clothing of godly soul. Why it happened? What does that mean? That everything works, is still the righteous person that he was. It means that the godly soul have full control, full control of the animal soul. The animal soul is not even sleep, yes? It's a tool in the hands of the godly soul. And therefore the godly soul is, and therefore the body is a tool in the hand of the godly soul. So this is I. Meaning the first instinct of the body is godly soul. In the Beinoni and Rasha, two those categories. He woke up in the morning, his first instinct is animal soul. Now here can be a fight. What is the fight? So what is the tool of animal soul? You. Meaning you feeling the animal soul. The animal saying you don't need to run, you can stay in the bed, you can whatever. The instincts of animal soul, the world, and the instincts of animal soul. The tool and the advantage of animal soul is that it's already here. You're already feeling it. What is the tool of the godly soul? Is intellect. Of the godly soul. There is also the tool, how it reacts. There is intellect. There is some things that you understood. As we said, the main power of the godly soul is what you understand. And if you understand something, it creates something. So you do understand, it's true that I am lazy, I would prefer to stay, and I will whatever. But if I will do this and this, it's important to do it.
And that's how you win.
And
And that's how the
this is how you used the levush, the parchment, not garment of God's soul, godly soul, and you basically won. So it has some advantages, the godly soul, that the language of godly soul is more intellect. It's about explain. It's about you can explain to the animal soul why I do important. It's true that this is your first instinct, but I am important. So, in one way, we can call it that the fight is between the two. But on the other hand, those two are me. Okay? Who am I? I am both. They are my souls. What does that mean? Who is I? I am both. So, if I have a thought to do good, it's godly soul speaking. If I have, the reaction is, but who cares and who needs it? Or, you're right, but not now. This is animal soul using the levush, the garment of thinking, to answer. So who doing this? It's both me. Okay? Now, as I said, what's important about the garments? First thing that important is this is the only thing that I can control. So, even if it's not important, it's important because this is the only tool I got. The garments. What I got from God, I cannot change. Only the levushim, the garments, I can change. The second advantage is that it can, if you're wearing hat and jacket like a rabbi, or you're wearing talit and tefillin, you cannot do a sin, maybe. Why? Because you're doing something else. So it's basically helping you also. This is a bit higher. If you're using the levushim, it's more the garments of the godly soul. It's more hard to use the garments of the animals, even though you can. You can do both because they are both you. You can use them both, and we do use them both. it's all the time. It's always there. In every mitzvah that you're doing, the animal soul doing the mitzvah with you. Okay? Because all the communication that body have with the godly soul is through the animal soul. That's why it's such a big win. Every mitzvah that we're doing. It's not that God did the mitzvah. It's godly soul that have animal soul as a clothing. And the clothing of the animal soul is the body. And we're doing it in the world. That is also natural world. That's why every mitzvah is a very big thing. For the tzaddik, it's also the same, but it's not such a war. He didn't win anything. Now, let's continue. And this is the main importance of the levushim, of the garments. They are much more important than we thought. So in general, what is more important, the body or the garments?
Body.
The body, of course.
It's the one that wears the garments.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Not only that, the body decides what will be the garments. For example, I understand that God is the most important thing in the world. He's the creator. Therefore, I feel love. Therefore, I'm doing mitzvot. This is how it was supposed to be. Understanding, feeling, and then using one or two of the levushim, thinking about God, speaking about God, or praying or learning, and then doing. So basically, levushim, garments, are only reaction to the body. True?
Okay.
This is how I understand that I must be a police officer. I feel that I doing it. I feel whatever, respect to the job or love for the job. I can use.
So I think.
And then I'm doing it. What? Yeah. Now, this is first. This is the first way that we will look on it. But actually, there is another side that will tell us exactly the opposite. And this is very, 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 very important. Because it's also not only important about the levushim and about the mitzvot, it's important about how the belief of God, of us in God, works. So, as we said, the soul have connection with God by love and fear and understanding. But, and this is what makes the soul holy, yes? It's emotions, holy emotions. No. For creature to be connected to the Creator seems not possible. Or when He is existed, He cannot connect to unlimited being like God. So what's the point? How you can connect with God, to unlimited God? By doing what He asks. Because He decided that this limited action, small detailed action, first of all, this is His will. God's will, it's above understanding. Will is above understanding. What does that mean? Will. Yes? This is my desire. A person have desire to go to America. And then he understands what will be there. He have emotions. But the desire is above understanding. It's, how you say, it's the compass of understanding and feeling. The desire can change your understanding. So God's will in the mitzvot, it's will that it's above understanding. And more than that, God created a path to be connected to Him Himself. And He created it by creating the Torah and the mitzvot. What He did. God, you cannot divide it to details. cannot divide God, as we talked about. He's a created, he's above time, above place. So he created his specific missions, his specific. You understand one law, you understand the other law. He created principles that you can understand. When you understanding principles that God thought about before, it will be enough for 24 seconds.
That's right.
So, God created those mitzvot
33 minutes.
in order that when you capture one thing of His will or understanding, you capture all of Him. Because He is not limited. So He put Himself in specific things and specific understanding. So when you understand one principle of God, that when you, even the most simplest, that a thief, that you catch him stealing or catch him after stealing, you need to pay double. This is principle of the Torah. When you understand that, you understand principle that God thought about, and then you're understanding the thought of God. The thought of God is one with Him. It's not something separated from Him, because it's not type of a being that you can separate His thought from what He Himself is. So you catch God Himself. I don't expect that we will fully understand this today. But this is principle. And this is what makes Torah and mitzvot important. It's not only because God wants you to do it. Of course, this is maybe the main point. That we're doing it because we're Jews. But what makes them important? Because this is God Himself. You did what He wanted. And you execute His will. You connected to the will of God. And God Himself in every detail of His will. The same thing with understanding. There is difference between understanding and will. That's why it's separated into two realms. It's very interesting. We will talk about it, hopefully. But this is the principle. Now, so for one hand, the godly soul is holy, and all the feelings and understanding are holy because they are the way to communicate with God. But when you're doing, you connected with God Himself. So what is more important? The levushim, the garments. Because you're doing it. You're connecting with God Himself. Here I have feelings, I have understandings, but they are limited. So when we're thinking about the righteous, what is the most important thing? That He feelings. What makes the tzaddik better, it's that because of his feeling and understanding, he all the time executing by his free garments those feelings. This is the true benefit of being righteous. That you have no fight to do the unlimited connection, to have this unlimited connection with God. So this is the goal. The goal is not conquering the other soul. The goal is to conquering the small town by those three garments. Why? First of all, because this is the only thing that we can control. Second of all, this is the goal, to connect it to God Almighty. Not to connect it to some limited levels. Now, as we said, the Beinoni found the way to make the animal soul go to sleep, in a way. Because he thinking about God, creating emotions, and then this gives him a drive to execute those emotions in the three garments. This is the picture in general. Okay? Questions?
Can we say that God gave us so many mitzvot and such a rich and big Torah because He wanted to give us many opportunities to connect to Him?
Yes, our sages said it. and we're saying it after every time that we're learning Torah, and we want to say Kaddish de Rabbanan, we're saying beforehand one Mishnah that's saying Rabbi Hanania ben Akashia אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך חיבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר, השם חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה וידע. God wanted to make the Jewish people privileged, and so this is one of the reasons that the Torah have and mitzvot is so big. Now, why the Torah is unlimited? This, I just want to say, to show or no, the fact that the Torah is unlimited. The Torah is unlimited. Why? Because every day people think about another explanation. So the Torah basically is not limited. And also the mitzvah of learning Torah is unlimited. You have every free moment, you have the mitzvah to learn Torah. And when you do it, you did it. Yes? So why is that? Because it represents of the thought of God. The thought of God is unlimited. It's all the time. Have no limits, no ending. And this is what you're connecting to when you're doing it, when you're using the thought garment. This is in general. Now I will stop this.